It appears we are on air, and it is 8:31, so I will call the April 2nd Environment and Land Use Committee meeting to order. We'll do roll call. We'll start with Kevin.
Munson here.
Dave Larson here.
Severson here.
Nelson here.
Oh, sorry, Stacy Klein.
Andy Todd here.
Haley Paso, DLM.
Verge Gamrath, Department of Land Management.
And Corp Council has stepped in as well.
Morning.
I certify that open meeting law requirements been met with proper posting. We have a 15-item agenda. I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Larson,
I will second that motion.
second by Todd. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Has everyone had a chance to read through our minutes from our March 5th regular meeting? Any corrections or additions to said minutes? Hearing none.
I move to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting.
First by Whalen,
Second.
second from Munson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. For item number 6 is a public hearing for a land use change rezone from transitional agriculture to residential, from David and Patricia Zwiefka. Randy, would you read the notice?
Yes. There will be a public hearing before the Trumpealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. The purpose is a land use change rezone from transitional ag to residential 20 on approximately 1.5 acres, more or less, to be able to divide the parcel. The location is part of the southeast one quarter of the southwest one quarter of Section 16, Town 18 North, Range 9 West, Town of Trempealeau. The parcel number as follows. Upon request, a map of the property may be obtained from the Department of Land Management. The hearing is requested by David G. and Patricia A. Zwiefka. Landowner David G. Zwiefka, petitioner. Trumpealeau County invites you to join this meeting as follows. To provide public comment on these hearings, please call 715-538-1894. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Verge Gamrath with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916 or email at verge.gamrath@county.trempealeau.wisconsin.us. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comments to the Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to, once again, Verge. All emails and written comments must be received by April 1st, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Please know that the written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and the request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Verge Gamrath at the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916. Sincerely, Verge Gamrath, zoning technician.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, thank you. Would you, give us an up?
Okay.
Little
I don't see our applicant in the room, Mr. Zwiefka. As the notice said, we'd like to rezone 1.5 acres. Mr. Zwiefka owns all this property, and he would like to split and make a lot for one of his children. And so he needs to rezone this piece to R20 in order to have enough acreage to divide that up. We have a letter of support from the town of Trempealeau. The comp plan has the land in R20, so we are following the land use plan. The rezone has been filed with the county clerk. The town clerk and district supervisor, Stacy Klein, have been notified.
As a courtesy, adjoining landowners were notified. I did receive some correspondence from one landowner, which I can read when you call for testimony. The hearing was published in the Trumpealeau County Times on March 12th and March 19th, and if this was approved, it would go to full county board for final approval on April 15th.
Thank you, Verge. If anyone would wish to offer public comment on this, now is your time. We do not have anyone, I don't believe, registered to testify
No,
on
not that
this.
I'm aware of.
So, could you read our letter from the town?
Sure. I have a letter from the town of Trempealeau dated January 14th. It says this letter is written with reference to the request by David Zwifka to rezone property described as tax parcel 028-01048-0000 to R20 in the town of Trempealeau. The board has no objection to the rezone. Sincerely, town of Trempealeau. Rick Welzine, town chairman.
Thank you. Once again, I'd offer anyone to offer their public testimony for this. We have no other,
Yeah, I do have a letter from
You have a letter?
Peg Zappin and Pat Caffrey. They were neighbors that were sent a letter. It's kind of an interesting email. It's dated March 26th. It says, "I received notice of the meeting on April 2nd about rezoning this parcel. I'm not sure what questions to ask because I don't know the process. R20 is a zoning district designated for higher density residential development with a recommended maximum of 20 dwelling units per 40 acres. What does that mean for this parcel? Is there a study on water, wastewater, and traffic? Could you tell me more about what issues are considered with a request of this nature? I live across the street from this parcel, and of course, I don't want a change in my quiet, single-family home neighborhood near a park, but I would like a better understanding of what is being requested. Thank you for any help." And then I responded to her, "Peg, there is a formula which we use to determine density. Based on the number of acres that he currently owns, he would like to go to the highest density allowed, which is R20, to make one more split. Therefore, he has to rezone the extra 1.52 acres to include that in the 5.02 acres. The formula is the number of acres he owns, total 5.02, times the zoning density of 20 and divide by 40, which equals 2.5. This formula determines how many parcels he can make, which is 2. We round down. Hopefully, this answers your question. Sincerely, Verge Gamera." Then she asked me one more thing, please. Why wouldn't R8 be the choice if wanting to allow for one more dwelling? Or is it that we don't know what would be built on the new parcel? It could be an apartment. Thanks again. I answered, "This parcel that is being rezoned is currently transitional ag. Mr. Zwifka would like to sell a small parcel to his son or daughter. Therefore, in order to make the split, he needs to rezone the small parcel so that all the land he owns currently would be under the R20 zoning density. Then he will be allowed to make the split and sell a small piece. For a rezone, we would only consider the zoning density question. Hope this answers your question. Sincerely, Verge Gamma."
okay.
So,
Okay, once again, if anyone wishes to offer public comment, it's your last chance. Seeing nobody here, I will close the public hearing at 8:39 and call for a motion from the committee.
I'll go ahead and make that motion to make that change to R20.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, first by Todd, second by Larson. Discussion?
Couple of questions. The green on the map is the 1.5 acres, am I correct in what we're saying there? Circled by the green line is 1.5 acres, or
That whole thing?
that's 1.5 total? Okay. Next item, looking at this map, the current driveway, I'll call it, seems to cross the other property to get to the town road. Is that being looked at and accommodated?
well, it's,
Is there another driveway planned, or,
well, I don't know about the driveway because the town would approve the driveway.
okay,
And, yeah, that would be up to the town on Spalding Road and West Prairie Road. I guess that was something he'd probably work out with his son.
So they're only splitting it once, they're not, it's not twice.
Right,
one
no,
to
it's
each
only one.
I was gonna
One
say,
split.
'cause otherwise it wouldn't.
I have a little follow-up question about the R8 versus R20. Is part of the reason just to keep it consistent, or is it more of a process? Just since they say that
Well-
they're only interested in one parcel.
As I explained, we do that formula, and with that formula, they could only have 2 lots
Okay.
in that amount of acreage.
Yeah. I know the R20 just makes it sound like daunting to people.
R8 wouldn't be high enough density to allow them to.
Correct.
We'll
Okay.
Get the total acres of those
Okay.
2 pieces. so.
Good enough.
R8 wouldn't work.
And, like I said, it's a bonus because we're following the land use
Right.
plan.
Right, it actually is
Yeah,
consistent.
first time for everything, right?
Okay,
Thank you.
pretty much. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Call for vote. All in favor of approving this rezone signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing to allow for public input on the conditional use permit and operation of Coons Trucking LLC in the town of Arcadia. Randy, would you read the notice, please?
Yes. Please take notice that pursuant to statute 59.69, bracket 2, bracket 3, bracket E, Wisconsin statutes, the Trumpealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee will hold a public hearing to allow public input on the issued conditional use permit for Coons Trucking LLC. This hearing is to allow for the provision of public input on whether the conditions of the CUP have been followed. Please be further advised that the public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, at 8:35 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse located at 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773. Written comments will be accepted by the Environment and Land Use Committee until April 1st, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Comments can be emailed to mark.carlson@county.trempealeau.wisconsin.us or mailed to the Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, but must be received no later than April 1st, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. The Trumpealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee, Kellen Nelson, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Randy. At this point, I think we have, Mark, would you want to give any?
Sure. I mean, this has kind of been an ongoing issue for a while. You know, we've talked about it at other meetings. And then it was decided, that we should do it this way, to have a public hearing to allow them to come back in and speak. And then there is a landowner here and his wife, and then also Coon Trucking is here. I guess, some of the pictures they have that were in the packet kind of show the dust, from the sawdust, especially with some of the snow where you can actually see it. And, the 2 conditions that were put on was dust and then hours of operation. I have never heard any complaints about hour of operation officially brought to my attention. So, I mean, we just thought we'd bring it to head here and discuss it, and then Kurt can say his piece on, how they're trying to rectify the situation or can do more in the future. I did get one letter from Mr. Bob Boberg that I will read when testimony, and then also Doug is going to get up and talk, and then Kurt can get up and talk also. I guess I'd like to see it rectified and have everybody satisfied with the outcome of it, but I guess, I don't know if that's possible in some cases, but we'll have to see what the discussion's about. But probably concentrate more on what's actually occurring there now versus what was going on when they first opened, because when they first opened, there was dust flying everywhere because a lot of the stuff was outside because of something with the operation. I feel that was rectified. But then I did get a video that was taken last October that I can send around. I don't know how we can get it on here, but it's just like a 15-second video that shows dust, and you can hear some noise in the background. And that was, as of last fall, And so I think we should just open it up and let
Okay.
the people say
So-
their thing, and I'll read the letter and
At this
go
point,
from
then,
there.
I will open it up for public comment. We can start with the letter.
Sure. This is from Bob Boberg, who's kind of been the one that's emailed me the most. He's kind of been, I don't know if he's the spokesman, but he's been the one that has brought most of the stuff to my attention. And he can't be here because he's on a vacation. So he just makes a reference that he can't make it because of the vacation. And then Coons started the indoor wood waste recycling facility next door to our house and our duplex on Mill Road to the east of the facility. Since they started chipping up wood into sawdust, we have been having dust blowing on our property. With road dust and sawdust blowing our way, we can't have our windows open when they are operating. We can also write our name on our patio furniture every couple of days. Road dust is the worst with all the trucks coming in and out. But when they load sawdust outside, it is really bad. I think more sawdust flies away than what goes in the truck than when they are grinding inside with the doors open. You can see sawdust coming out the doors. I sent Mark plenty of pictures. I also have videos. Pictures and videos don't lie. When Coons were issued the permit, they were supposed to control the dust, but they haven't. They do make dust collectors for sawdust, and there is a product that you can put down to control road dust. If they control the road dust and work inside with the doors closed, that would help a lot. If this does not get resolved, I will go to the EPA and tell them the problems we are having. Thank you, Bob Boberg.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Once again, we are open for public comment. I believe there's a Doug Sensala who'd like to say a few words.
Good morning. I'm not used to this. Kind of out of my realm here. Yeah, I guess Bob pretty much said everything. This is like the third meeting we've had. On the last meeting, the board set up some conditions and Coon Trucking did abide. They closed up the vents on the roof on the barn, which was a big, dust exhaust. And the biggest thing they did was they changed from a diesel engine to an electric engine on their mill. And I thank you for that. That made a huge difference in noise. That was, at the time, our biggest problem. They keep the place mowed, they keep it looking good. But the dust is absolutely horrible. Mark was in my backyard observing them grinding with the grinding operation outside. This is several years ago, and after 10 minutes, we couldn't stand the dust. It was in your eyes, you're breathing it. Okay, so that dust at times is worse yet. And it comes from loading semis outdoors. Most of the semi-trailers, I believe, I'm not sure, I believe are loaded on the inside as they grind the stuff. I'm thinking it's pumped right into the semis. But occasionally, they load a truck outdoors, and it's out of a separate building. So, I mean, you got a, I don't know, it's 5-6 yard bucket lifting 20 feet in the air over the top of these semi-trailers. And this sawdust is the consistency of like ground up goose down. I mean, this stuff is so light. And we've got a video. You can't, like Bob said, you can't be outside. The air conditions are so poor, you cannot be outside when this is happening. We had took a video of this, of them loading it, and then went in the house and looking out our back door, it looked like a snowstorm. And it was sawdust. It was literally sawdust. So these guys have worked with us. They've made some improvements, but one of the promises they made from the get-go was to take care of the dust on the road, and nobody knew about this other truck loading business. So I know at the time it was said that we would blacktop if it was dust was a problem. I don't see that happening. It costs a fortune to blacktop this driveway and yard. But I asked that they try something, whether it's treating the road or whatever. And then, like I said, loading them semis outside is horrible. There's nobody else here because we're the only ones. There's only 4 houses really that are affected by the southwest wind. My wife and I are one, Bob is the other. And sadly, we lost two of our neighbors in the last couple months. They passed away. So out of 4 houses there, there's only 2 of us. There will be new families in these houses someday, and they will be affected. Also, just in the last year's time, well, Mark said it's in the city limits, so you guys probably got nothing to do with it. But there's millions and millions of dollars in new apartments built right behind us. And it's not as, you don't get the north winds as often as you get the southwest winds, which hamper us on a daily basis. Like Bob says, you can't have the windows open most of the time. But these houses are gonna be impacted. And I mean, there's a lot of them, and somebody's got a lot of money invested. And it's high rent. I can't picture living there with these conditions. So if these people haven't come about and complained yet, it will be coming someday. Again, I guess that's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Once again, I'll offer public comment. I think Kurt, maybe would you like to respond or speak?
She's gonna try to get that video so we can see it on here, but he explained it pretty well. I mean, seeing is one thing, but it definitely shows stuff on there.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can get that.
On the driveway deal, we are working on getting the reground blacktop and putting some in. We have started some already, putting some in to take care of that dust there and stuff. And the dust outside, we do store some sawdust in there. On a few days, the guys went and started loading, and when it did start loading, it was windy and it started blowing, and then they quit so that it didn't keep blowing around, you know, and stuff. But I mean, for the most part, 99% of the stuff is all ground inside the building. The building's pretty well contained. We got it pretty well closed up. You know, occasionally the door might be open as he's coming out. I mean, we got a Milwaukee blower. We blow the trailers off, try to, when we come out. You know, we can't get everything, you know. We try to get everything we can, but there's parts up under the here or there that the dust gets on, and, you know, we try to contain everything we can to keep it so everything is clean, and we ain't dragging stuff on the road. And if we do get stuff on the road or something, we, you know, pieces of wood or something, we try to pick it up here and there and try to work with everybody to keep it clean as we can and neat as we can. And, you know, we're trying to do the best we can. It just occasionally we do it and it happens, the wind just catches it in the right direction. And, you know, so, I mean, the majority of the stuff is ground inside of a building, so I don't know what else. I mean, we're trying to contain as much as we can. It just occasionally we get caught with, you start loading something and the wind catches it, and, you know, we just got to quit, you know, and we all know that, and try to keep all the doors shut we can, you know, so
Okay,
trying to make it as right as we can.
okay. Is there any other correspondence we've received?
No, I haven't received, I talked with the township and they didn't really have an opinion one way or the other. They didn't seem overly concerned about what was going on there. I talked with Barb actually yesterday, and she didn't see like a noise problem or, I mean, they're only there, you know, they're not there every day, but I mean, from what she didn't need to add to any, but I guess, put it that way, so.
All right, okay, if anyone, so we have nobody else for public comment. At this point, I think we need to, you know, questions from the committee, I think. Would probably,
Okay.
I think right now would be appropriate.
Haley has the video ready if you want
Oh,
to see
yeah,
that
let's-
quick. I
let's
mean,
take
it's
a look.
only like a
Okay.
half
Let's
a
look at the video
minute.
quick.
It's only a half a minute long.
Yeah, it looks like snow, but it's all sawdust. That's in the backyard.
And how often
Thanks,
does
Haley.
that happen?
Quite often, actually, I observed this about 2 weeks ago. It was a windy day, but again, it depends which way the wind is blowing. Again, there's only 4 houses that are impacted most of the time. If it's an east wind, there's nothing there. A quick trip is half a mile away, quarter mile away. So it's, like I said, it's just usually out of 4 houses, 2 weeks ago, the wind was like out of the south, so it blew straight across the highway. Those people do complain, but obviously nobody's got enough time to make it public. And I honestly didn't put any complaints in. This must have all come from my neighbor, but I got a letter and I figured, well, I'm part of the situation here, so here I am. It's been a couple weeks and like Mr. Keene said here, they don't do it all the time, but it seems like, in fact, the last time I watched them, it was a windy day like this and the guy, instead of loading a huge bucket load, he was trying a half a bucket at a time, so it wouldn't create as much dust, but it's just still horrible. There was one video that we took of the semi-trailers being loaded. I don't know if you didn't get that one? Well, it was a video of the same day that it was snowing on the back deck there. Took a video of the truck being loaded and then we had to go to the house because he couldn't be outside. Yeah, it covers the houses steadily. I mean, you can't keep nothing clean. So that's probably a picture of dust coming out of the, yeah. And this is about 100 yards, 150 yards from my back door. So I believe these guys are doing what they can do, but it's gotta be something more. This is, and like I said, when this starts impacting all those brand new apartments.
We haven't had a complaint at all from them, and Ashley owns them, and they come out to our place and never said nothing. And one of the ladies that lives right on the corner, the first house there, I know her real well, and she's never.
Behind you?
Okay.
Behind? To the south?
In the new apartments, them new
Well-
townhouses, she's
Okay.
never said nothing
Well,
about
like I
no.
said, it's only happens when there's a north wind. Yeah.
Let's, we need to keep this here for now. Appreciate the discussion, but, question.
Question on the recycled blacktop. Where are you in that process of having everything necessary covered?
Well, we'll have to start up this summer here when we can get some more. We got some already, we got a couple dump truck loads and put some down already, but, as of, it's this time of the year, we can't get any right now.
So I think that if that can be continued and completed, that would
Right.
be a good step towards the road dust.
Right.
All right, Rand,
Looking at this with
Randy's.
the sawdust, I believe there's an issue. I don't have even a suggestion for you, but the question is this, you said loading from another building, is that where the dust problem is coming from loading?
We stockpile some in a shed that, when Bill had this farm, we used to haul sawdust to him, and he stored sawdust in his shed when we hauled it to him. So we use it for an excess for the wintertime. We go through a lot more, and we can't keep up, so we store it in there for the winter, and as we need it, we use it, and we try not to do it on days that it's windy. We try to do it when it's calm, but like I say, all of a sudden you get started and it starts blowing, well, then we can't keep doing it because, I don't want to, make these guys dusty or make stuff wreck for them too, So but we store in this other shed and we don't, like this whole summer, the shed's empty now, so there is no sawdust in it now. So, we don't load nothing outside right now and, pretty much all the way through the summer. We didn't dig in there till in December, we took a little bit out,
How do you get the sawdust from your
We fill a trailer.
factory to the storage shed? Is it
We fill a trailer, we back it into the shed, and then we unload it, and then we push it up with a loader inside the shed. It's all done inside that shed.
You still got the multiple products? You got the coarse sawdust, and then this is from that wafer board, I assume, or that really fine powdery stuff that you
Well-
grind up, that's where most of the dust is from?
Right, anytime it runs through the grinder, you're gonna make dust, you're grinding it through a 3/4 inch screen, we grind it through, so it's gonna make dust, even though it's, and the particle board makes even more because it, but we don't get a lot of it, I guess.
Question: in the original committee meeting back in 2018, they talked about a 600 feet distance as far as the drive that you guys go from the building basically to the road, the distance of the driveway that you're driving. What percentage of that 600 feet has already had the reground pavement put on it? is it like half, or you've got 10 feet of it, or?
Well, I would say, I don't know, whatever, 2 dump truck loads, it ain't very much comes in dump truck, but
So probably 50 feet.
yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because the main driveway, when you come in, is blacktop, and you
Right.
go over the hump and around these corners is where we're working on putting it right in there, in that area, and that's where we're starting on putting the ground up blacktop.
Well, I'm just trying to quantify it, so we
Right.
know that, hey, they've done this amount, or they've
Right.
not done this amount. So if you got 50 feet of their suggested 600 feet, they didn't put that into the the conditional use permit, but we're looking for something there we can rectify this, would be able to monitor it. You know,
Right.
We know you're doing what you can, but we just want to make sure that we can measure it and have it come out accurate, that yes, something
Right.
was addressed, or we've reduced it by half by
Right.
doing that distance.
Yeah.
Randy,
I actually went to the site twice this week, hoping that I could, see when they were grinding. Both times they weren't grinding. I went on Monday, and I saw a loader moving, so I thought, well, I'm not going to bother. But then I came back yesterday and actually caught Kurt in the yard, and I was pretty impressed. It's a very neat site, and the blacktop currently goes all the way up, like the picture that shows the truck, that's all blacktop on the top, and then when it opens up into more of the yard,
The bigger part of the yard,
the
yeah.
bigger part of the yard, yeah. And, I walked around, I didn't see sawdust on any surface. I did quite a bit of walking around, and I like to say, I didn't see sawdust on the ground, on any flat surface, on any roof. So I get, when the winds are right, and we've had a lot of wind this year.
Yeah.
We really have.
Right.
And, it was a little farther than I thought it was, looking from the building site to the houses. And, like I say, I just did not see sawdust anywhere. There was a flat old, like cistern thing, big concrete flat slab, it had nothing on it. And then, another thing, I know, this product is vital to a lot of farmers.
Right.
And I know what it's like to wait for sawdust in the winter. It's a vital source.
Yes.
I'm just not as familiar. What is it used for?
Bedding.
That's what I
Dry.
thought, but yeah.
Yeah. Becky?
First of all, thanks for attending and for working, so, you've been doing your due diligence, obviously, and that's appreciated. Can you talk a little bit about the photo? So this is an unusual situation. What causes that, I guess?
That is probably a day that somebody was loading with the wind, and then, like he said, when you get the bucket up and that wind starts, that's when we notice it, is when you start loading,
But the loading generally happens inside?
Inside the building, yeah.
But the only time it happens outside is when you use that
Yes, when we're
extra
using that
shed?
extra shed, yes. Like I say, from now till probably December or somewhere, we don't dig in that shed at all, really, and it's completely empty right now, so.
So it's the reloading activity that's creating.
Right, because the rest of it's
majority the
contained
dust?
inside of a building. We got all the sides closed in, the roof closed in, and,
So is that what you're experiencing, is that it only happens at certain times of the year and for certain periods of
I didn't
time?
know it's at any certain time of the year, and it's not daily, but it was frequently, like I said, just a couple weeks ago, I watched it. And this particular was I guess, last October. So that was the worst, that was the absolute worst, that was horrible.
Do you have any future plans to think about how you could, redo that that building? Or so that you would have
Right.
a new building where the truck could come inside, you could still drop the
that's the
stuff?
only thing you
and-
could do is build some kind of existing building to kind of cover it somewhat, put a wall up or something, that, to protect
Extend,
it a little
yeah.
bit too, so that when it is a little windy or something, that it doesn't carry or something,
Sure,
that'd be the only
I
other
mean,
thing.
it does seem like a lot, and if it's,
Because we cemented, the whole shed was all dirt. We cemented the whole shed out, we cemented a big pad out in front of it and everything, so
Oh,
that
that's nice.
we can try to keep everything cleaned up as much as we can,
Sure.
It's harder to do it on gravel and that, so we cemented everything and whatever, to try keeping things,
yeah, it's appreciated. I think, I think a neighbor would be concerned about, like, this only too, because of air quality, if you're breathing that in, of course.
That's going the opposite direction of the houses in that picture, though.
That would be headed towards the apartments based on ref.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that the apartments probably, even if nobody's complaining, certainly we still would have concern about that for air quality and breathing that in at the apartments.
Right.
Yeah, so I think if you could figure out how to contain that one building would be appreciated.
Right.
So once the truck is loaded, are they covered?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they have tarps
So there's
on 'em.
nothing flying off
No.
after that, and
No.
you're
I don't
working on
notice
the
them
road?
Like, if it wasn't,
Yeah.
it'd be all over the roads, everywhere.
Does that sound like something that you could do,
Yeah,
is to
we
look
can
at that?
into doing some kind of a wall and something to try to protect it more there, I guess.
Sure,
than,
that would be-
You know, when we do it and stuff.
That'd be great.
I think that would take care of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that exterior dust that way.
Right.
So are you loading out up a ramp, or you just got the high extend loader?
We got a telehandler
Yeah.
with a bucket.
Can that be augured? Augured out?
Awful slow.
Anything's possible, but it'd take a long
still
time.
have
More
dust.
maintenance.
Yeah.
You still got
Well,
dust.
no
It's
dust.
trick-
It might
It's
be
tricky, the
worse.
smaller
Just
stream will
trickles
blow
on.
away
Yeah.
more than a
Yeah.
big lump.
Well, but they could cover the truck and have the auger go,
Well,
or
that's what he
the,
does inside.
right
now. He
into the
blows it
truck.
in, But this, I don't think it would work that way.
Yeah, because you'd still get the wind as it's coming off the end of the conveyor, dropping into the trailer that way, and it'd be a lot slower loading, and then, you know, because, well, then you can't. Right, but. Yeah, I don't, it'd be hard to do because the tarp, you know, fits tight on the trailer. So if you put it on, then you'd have no way to get the sawdust into the trailer, you know, with the auger, or the elevator or whatever coming up to the trailer. You have to have it open to get a decent load in the trailer, you know.
That would have to be way up in the air.
Yeah. Do you use the air system to blow it in?
No, it just runs
Like
through our
inside?
grinder.
No, inside too?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it just runs on a conveyor. It comes out of the machine, it goes up a conveyor there and then over and then drops into the trailer.
Okay, so it does just drop in. It's
Yeah,
not like
yep.
it's I see some places will have the.
Yeah, we got some
vent
places,
system.
other places we
You
haul out
collect
of them.
from.
They blow it in the back door of the trailer.
Okay,
Yeah, the Coxswain's got their chipper and just blows it right in the trailer that
right,
way.
yeah, I know several others too.
Right.
So that's just trying to understand the style of loading. You go.
What percentage of your loads, okay, you say you only use it in the winter when you need more than you have available.
Right.
So, say, I'm just trying to picture, on a typical day, I'll say that you need to haul out 5 loads. Can you chip 4 and load 1 out of there, or do you, when it's that time, you load everything out of that shed?
No, most of it's ground in the shed.
Yep.
But if we need like we'll do maybe 1 load today, and then the other 3, 4 would come out of the shed or by the grinder, you know.
What-
Yeah, it ain't, we don't go out and load, you know, all day long out of there,
Right, okay.
you know.
Do you have a time of the day that you normally load out? I'm thinking normally early morning, the wind is calmer.
Right.
Do you try to load out early in the morning for that load that you need out of there and then go inside later when, do you attempt that or think about that at all?
Well, we try to, yeah, I mean, but it just depends on, because usually the guy that grinds has got trailers loaded for us in the morning.
Okay.
And then if we usually go and start dumping trailers, and then if we get back and he isn't quite ready with another trailer, we'll load a trailer, you know, but I mean, there is, times we load in the morning, sometimes we load in the middle of the day, or, you know.
And it's seasonal because,
Yeah.
summertime or when environment is correct, cattle are out on pastures,
Right.
everybody brings everything home during the
Winter, yep.
3 or 4 months of inclement weather.
Right.
Yeah, so, I can just get Google Earth up for my own reference, and I've been to the farm years ago. The large building, which was the bedded pack, is where all the grinding process is completed. There's a building to the east that looks like it's probably 3-sided with a
Yep.
concrete apron in front, and that's
Yep.
the storage building.
Yep. It's actually 4 sides.
Okay.
The front
Oh, so it is
side does have
enclosed.
sliding doors on it.
Okay, so you can't close it.
Yes, we usually once we get it full, we keep
Shut
the
it
door
down.
shut so that, you know, the rain doesn't get all the sawdust wet there and stuff. We try to
Yep.
close that and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if you could, I would tend to agree with Ms. Gluen that if you'd inquire into putting something, covering that outer area.
Right.
You know, it wouldn't probably have to be 100% closed, but the ability to back the trailer in, you're gonna cut down a lot of that
Right.
dust in the air too. Any other thoughts from the committee?
I guess what kind of time frame should we be looking at here? I mean, the residents in the neighborhood want to see immediate
Change.
resolution, I guess, you know, and,
Question I have, when it's been alluded to a little bit, but I don't know if it's been asked directly, the amount, the dust that is the issue, is it more sawdust or is it gravel dust? Because I'm seeing more of a sawdust issue than I am gravel personally from what I'm hearing. So where I'm coming at from that is maybe spend less of your money on the blacktop at this point, unless you want to, and refocus on controlling your sawdust issue, which seems to be the primary concern just because of how easily it'll blow.
Right.
And whatnot. That'd be my suggestion at this point. As far as the time frame, I don't know what's real fair.
Reasonable, I would think, when he starts loading again. If you can get it done by October,
Right.
I mean, that's reasonable, because he ain't gonna be using it anyway, so.
Right.
Right, yeah,
And
it
it
doesn't
takes
have
time.
to happen.
Are we requesting just a windbreak, or should we have an enclosed shed that'll catch the wind and get blown away with our windier conditions? Or what kind of,
Right.
Right, and that's, where do you,
Yeah,
how, yeah.
I guess we're not engineers, so. you know,
I think the
whatever he-
owner, though, could investigate that over the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
6 months and come up
I
with the
mean-
best solution, right?
Right.
you might be able to put on a curtain, your roll-up curtain that you can put down when you're loading, and that might be able to contain enough.
Right.
You know, or eliminate the wind a little bit, and then a cover, you know, maybe it doesn't have to be a fixed pole shed, but I agree, I think you could explore some options and.
Right.
And,
Just depends on, yeah, how the truck traffic is, or how it impedes the yard movement or flow or whatever, but.
yeah, that would, I don't know, I think that's. Mark?
yeah, I think, today shows more of the dust issue with the sawdust, but a lot of the complaints were from the traffic, you know, and I guess if they have a blacktop area, you know, maybe they could water their dry areas down, but then you'd be looking at dragging stuff out on the road, you know. I think they should address both concerns, you know, somehow. You know, maybe not blacktop or recycle the whole thing, but at least, like you see the sand mines, they got a water truck, but then they're always dragging stuff out on the road, you know. We don't want to really see that happen. We don't want to see that happen. Or they used to use, I don't know if they still use, they used to put calcium chloride down on that to control it. I don't even know if they do that anymore, but I would like to see both things addressed, you know, that way the neighbors will hopefully be rectified with it. And I think it's a good idea with the building more containment, or just, you know, initially when this was all approved, the talk was the building was all contained, you know. There was no outside area that was like a extra area to handle something that was stockpiling. Initially, it was talked about was all in the building, contained. And, I just don't give them too much time to, you know, because the neighbors still have to deal with this for 3-4 months, you know, summer's coming up and I'm outside trying to do something, you know, and I would just try getting it done way sooner than later.
Okay. Given that, yes, go ahead.
I just think that Mark makes a really good point, like the expectations were set initially on how this should be handled, and so, I think that's valid in saying, you know, that especially the one building should be contained, instead of open.
Okay.
But that we don't actually do till this fall, so I mean, that part.
It gives you time.
You'd
Yeah,
have
I
time
mean,
to work on it.
I see as part on, and we still want to do that because it goes around these corners, and with just gravel in there and constant twisting, it's tearing it up more, so that's why we've been trying to put that reground in there to try to help solve some of that, because the gravel you put in and the twisting around the corners constantly making potholes and stuff. We're trying to, right.
And that's the part that would reach basically to the highway. I don't see it except for 95 when I drive by, and it's nearly daily. And it's the dust that gets, to the highway. The sawdust isn't as evident from the highway as the ground dust that we have coming off of the ground in
Gravel
there.
dust, you mean?
Yeah, the gravel, yeah. The gravel dust is what you see mostly when I'm through the area.
Right.
It's really not.
Instead of recycled blacktop, have you thought about granite? I know it's hard on tires if you get the,
No, I guess I never thought of that.
granite is less dust as the limestone breaks down and that creates dust, so we've been doing some granite on our town roads too that are gravel.
Right. Be something to look into too, I guess.
So is there a time frame that we want to put on for each part? I think, the October time frame or so is very logical on the building side of reload.
I was thinking along that line of, right now, okay, I believe you said 2 truckloads of the blacktop, and that's approximately 50 feet. We've got a 600 approximately foot. So 10% is covered. If we set another percentage, 30% more by this year, or 40% more by this year,
Yeah.
but,
keep
something
working
along,
on it.
something along that line. And as far as the sawdust dust, look into what you can do with some kind of information back to us, say by July, so that we have an idea what the plan is. Is that a reasonable thought process?
So I think this is already well-known, but I just have to state it. The purpose of today's meeting or public hearing was to get everybody together, give everybody a chance before we go to the more extreme measures of looking at a revocation or whatnot of the CUP. And so right now, the committee could certainly give a recommendation and vote on that, knowing that hopefully we don't ever get to that later part because the Coons will take care of what they need to. And I think we could do the recommendation through vote, and then we could also schedule this out for July as well and ask that you come and just give us an update, if that would be acceptable to you.
Yep.
I think
So at this point, we need a motion to that effect. Is that
I would-
correct?
Yes,
That's
for a
what I would say.
recommendation.
What's that?
A recommendation.
A motion
motion
to.
on a recommendation.
A recommendation. I will make the motion that they complete up to 40% of the blacktop. What's that?
We recommend.
We recommend, yeah, I thought I started with that, maybe I didn't. That they get up to 40% covered with the recycled blacktop or something comparable. And have that for the year. And then come back to us in July with what they have found for information and what they think they can do in regard to controlling the dust from the outside shed. And have with the plan being to have something completed by the end of October.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. Okay, motion by Larson, second by Munson. Any other discussion from the committee or staff?
Can I ask a question? This is more like on the, I guess, the legal end, so just maybe my sake going forward. So,
Is your mic on, Stacy?
oh,
It
yeah,
is.
it is,
It's-
sorry.
it's red.
Skip, so I can't see
Yeah,
it.
I wasn't talking as loud as normal. Okay, so, yeah, I'm just looking at the notes from when this was originally approved. So to call the operator back if sound or dust become an issue. So does this technically get to be like a violation of the conditions?
So that was a question, that's a good question. So we're kind of bumping up against that. And, one of the things that the county could have done is try to revoke the CUP, brought it up just immediately for a revocation. But because there are so many interests on all sides here, that we wanted to give a forum to have it discussed and some sort of alternative to address this before going to that most extreme measure. But revocation would be the clearest route to deal with it. So this was kind of a way to look at everything in the middle.
Okay. So we have motion made and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? Staff? Mark?
I guess I'll just add a little bit more on the road. I mean, it's nice that they're gonna be told to recycle blacktop it or whatever, but I think they could take other measures in the meantime to have very minimal road dust, either with, try the watering down thing to make sure, and then just try to evaluate it so no mud gets brought out on. I mean, they got some blacktop between the end of all that to make, hopefully some of the stuff will be knocked off before it gets out onto the main road. Or some other product that they can spread on the existing road that just keeps the dust level at a better level than it is now. And then, in the, you know, with the intent of the recycled blacktop being the whole thing eventually, but. Just want to see the neighbors, you know, get something out of this other than just, you know, some hopes that things are going to change by the July meeting, I guess, so.
Clarification from Susan. Didn't my motion include recycled blacktop or other measures?
You said other comparable measures.
So that is an option.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can ask you, slowing the rigs down a little bit going in, does that help? I mean, I don't know if it's possible. I'm just throwing an option out.
You can't go real fast because, I mean, when you go out, it goes around these corners, so.
Sharp.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't do like 30, 40 miles an hour because of the corners and stuff, and then you're approaching 95, so.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
go ahead. Please come up to a microphone though, if you can.
Like the man just said, most of the trucks do come in and out very slow. I'll grant you that. And their exhaust systems are pretty decent, they're quiet. But when you got basically a dust road and these huge semis with all this horsepower and all this air blowing off the engines, those semis, even if it's quiet outside, create a huge, dust storm. So they're coming out of there in low gear at a high RPM, and the engine revved, and that, to me, I think is what creates most of the dust. So that's all I had to say about that.
Okay.
So which do we want? Do we want dust or do we want mud?
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much things, we can't impede a business really either.
I just say, I think that motion pretty
Yeah, it
much
does.
addresses the dust, the road dust. And that's what I've witnessed the most, has been the road dust.
And this, of course, doesn't limit you to only 40%. If you can get the whole thing covered, that'd be phenomenal.
Up to blacktop the whole yard, but.
Yeah, we're not gonna require the exact top yard, but we do want the dust because the neighbors have
Yes.
mentioned it. That's what we're working with, is working with you.
So, question, is there a way, you know, if a neighbor's having a fair amount of dust, would, you know, they can talk directly to you, like, hey, you know, we're getting a lot today?
More than welcome to come over anytime they want.
Or a phone call even? Is there a
Yep.
number they can call, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because,
I'm here to work with you, you work with me.
Yep.
If there's a problem, call me, don't go behind and, you know, like, I don't know if it was you or Bob, had something delivered to his place, and they literally come in our yard, up along the side of our thing, delivered the thing, got the truck stuck. We pulled the truck out, and I didn't complain.
Right.
I'm a neighbor,
helping out.
if you wanna come in here, I don't have a problem with it, you know?
Okay.
I didn't say nothing about that or
Nope,
whatever,
nope.
you know?
Not saying you did, just, you know,
Right.
making sure that there's awareness of the.
I wanna work with
just to
you, and you work
communicate.
with me.
Yep.
If there's a problem, come over and talk to me or call me. I'm more than willing to talk
Okay, sounds good to me.
and work with somebody.
Okay, at this point then, we have motion on the table. Any other discussion, questions from the committee or staff? Hearing none, I'll call the vote on this motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we will plan to hear from you, probably put you on the July meeting is what we'll plan to
They'll
do.
send a letter then or something?
Mark?
I'll contact you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, and then let's get a status update and see where things are going.
right.
Yep, review at that point.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes item 7. Item number 8 is a zoning update. Discussion, possible action from Mr. Mark Carlson. Oh, see if they can. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So, yeah, Mark, we have a zoning update.
Well, do you want to discuss the reappointment, or is that's on the agenda next, I guess?
I got the one that's printed up here. I don't know what I've.
It's an old agenda? Oh, whatever. Okay, yeah, the zoning update. What do I got here? I guess permits are starting to come in. Construction really hasn't started much yet because of, road bans are still on, and my understanding, according to Neil, they might be on for another week. Last week it was 2 weeks, so today it should be a week, but, I actually had to go to the school and do a presentation. Melinda Goplin's class had, some zoning-related issues at their class that they wanted to discuss and learn more about our zoning department. And I think it went pretty well. We have a BOA hearing coming up mid-April for a roadside and driveway variance. And I guess we'll be monitoring this situation, even though they're not gonna talk about it till July. I mean, every time I'm in Arcadia, I'll see what's going on at this place, you know, to see what's, but, that's pretty much it.
Okay, 2025 cost share request, discussion, possible action from Haley. So go through the projects we got cooking this year.
Yeah, got a whole list of them. So I have this broken out into 2 sections. I know it's a lot. I was trying to zoom it in here. What am I doing? Okay, so we have the new, and we have a lot of new because NRCS, they have very restricted funding right now, but they had a lot of projects come in last fall. So they had a lot of projects that did not get funded through the federal funding. So they asked if we would have extra funding available, and we do, because we did not have as many projects as they did come through for this year. So we said we would be glad to use our funds here within the county, and we would like to looking at those projects as well. So we would work coinciding with them on those projects. They're all designed, they're ready to roll. So a lot of them, we have one-way storage closure, a lot of grade stabilizations, waterways, critical areas, and then I also put in here the cover crops. So then the carryovers, those are ones from last year that were already approved. This, I'm just looking for approval on moving forward with these types of projects. The dollar amounts will change because they have not been bid out. If all of these go through, again, we have to get landowner signatures on everything once the bids come back. And I cannot guarantee that a landowner will be able to pay the 30%. I don't know what their situations are at the time of, this. So I'm looking for approval to move forward with the whole slew of different practices to use our funds on these types of practices, the waterways, the grade stabs. It is to help with the water quality and the soil health and soil erosion within our county. So that is what I'm looking for. If you have questions, I didn't put names on here. There's towns. It's really all over Trempealeau County, which is great to see. And this is just kind of a general guideline of where dollar amounts will be sitting. This would use all of our funds, both DAC, and county.
Question, on our email, we've got that whole sheet, and then right below it, there's a little 4-line item. there it is.
Yep, it just zoomed
That is
in.
the totals from up there, or it has nothing to do with that? Or
Yep,
where-
so so the total available is what we have as far as funding available. Total allocated is what totaling all of these would do. So then remaining, we would be actually in the hole essentially. So I'm asking for all these projects. I don't think I'm gonna do all of them. I just don't wanna have to wait
Okay, that's.
for
that-
another month if I can move forward with
You-
these
You
projects.
anticipated where I was going with the negative sign.
Yep, so it
Okay.
just shows that we are asked, like, we would be spending more, so we will have to
And
rank
if we
which
get to
ones.
that point, we stop?
Yep.
In the actuality, is that?
Correct, we will not go over.
Right,
We will be at zero.
Or above.
Yes, we will not
Hopefully
go,
zero, but-
we will not go at negative.
Yes. Like,
Can I ask a
Andy?
question? So what if the homeowners or they can't pay that 30%? What happens?
There is the potential option to do economic hardship, which would bring it to a 90-10, but they have to show that they do have an economic hardship. But the rule within DACAP is a 70-30 split. So we pay 70, and then they would pay the 30%. So they could work with the contractor, they could try to look for, loans, they could look for other grants, but that is up to their part of it.
So if they can't, then they don't do the project?
Correct.
Okay.
That's how you end up in some of the other
Yes.
projects. So a
Some
lower
of
ranked
them,
project may get funded based on that,
Yeah.
potentially.
We try to give them the best estimate we can based off of previous bid numbers. But again, their estimates, I can't guarantee what the contractors are gonna come back at, especially with the prices doing it what they are now, especially with tariffs and everything. I really don't know how bids are going to come in this year, just with everything. So I can't guarantee that we will do all these projects, but I'm hopeful we get many of them done.
Is it allowable for the farmer, landowner, to do some of the stuff themselves and get credit back towards that 30%, or is that not an option?
We have not done that in the past because doing in-kind work gets very tough. And what dollar amount do you do that at? So I have not done that because that opens up a whole nother can of legality that I would have to work through.
40 years ago, we did that.
Yes. They could potentially work with the contractor, but that is between those two. I will not work with negotiating between contractor and landowner.
It's sticky, because I could see where there could be some problems where the contractor might have to fix,
Yep.
if they're not on the same page.
Correct. Because they do have to meet all of our standards. I mean, we're out there verifying that they meet all the NRCS standards. If they don't, they have to redo it. So there is high standards they do have to meet.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion, or on these funding requests.
I'll move to approve this request.
Second.
Motion by Larson, second by Klein. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll start working from that list. And item number 10 is state budget priorities and conservation staffing. Haley.
Yeah, so Wisconsin Land and Water, so that's our association for LCC, so the committee and the conservation districts, has asked to put the state budget actions on the committee's agenda. So they provided this checklist of kind of going over what the budget priorities are as far as the conservation side of it for the state budget, going through if there's anything that we can do to voice how we would like to see the state budget done, or some of those concerns that are out there. Let me see if I can find the one pager, which is great. Land and Water created the priorities, and one of them being is the conservation staffing. And this graph is for the state, so I'm just gonna kind of go through what it is. So the dark green on the very bottom, or black, I guess how it shows up here, is the base funding that we, as the state, receive for conservation. The light colored grayish green comes up a different color on the screen. That's gonna be like one-time funding for that year. The line above is the ask for just staffing, conservation staffing from the state. As you can see, it is well above the base funding that we receive. We get one position funded, and then they say they like to then fund 70% of the other one. I don't think we've ever gotten 70% of the second. And then, you know, if you have additional staff from that point, they're being funded by like county levy or other grants. So the big push, and the Wisconsin Counties Association is also on board with this as being one of their initiatives of county staffing. So I'm just bringing it up. We don't need to do motions or resolutions or anything. It is up to you guys. But it was asked on my part to bring it up to the committee and see if there's anybody, if you know someone in the state legislature, if you know your representatives, to reach out and just communicate with them any kind of, you know, concern you have about this, and say we really support the land and water initiatives on that. I don't need any answers today, or if you know anybody, but if you do, or if you do talk to someone, please let me know, or let Matt Kruger, who is the president of Land and Water, know, because he has been tracking conversations and at the state capitol and lobbying for many, many days now, and he has been hearing that from the legislators, that they have been hearing from us, which is great to know. So I ask that if you do have conversations, or if you would like to move forward with, you know, writing a letter, or, you know, even just communicating with them, just let me know, and then I can relay that message back, because we want to be a unified front on this. So just wanted to bring it up. I did also kind of scale it into Trempealeau County. So it shows kind of where we have been. I could not find, and I apologize, I could not find when I was making this, for 2021 and 2022, what our application dollar amounts were. That's why they're in red on the left and the light blue on the graph, because I could not find those numbers. I just used judgment on, put 300,000, because that was roughly in the middle of the other 2 years. So as you can see, our application has exceeded the award that we have gotten. So it shows how it would affect us if our base funding actually did go up. It would be more in line of what we're asking for. And that would also help free up some of the county levy, and that would help budgets overall as far as the county budgets go. So just as a, you know, tick on that one. So questions, comments?
Would it be more effective to send individual letters, or as the Department of Land Management from Trumbull County and the committee members sign it?
I don't know if there's one best effective way. I think any communication is effective for the state legislator. If we want to do something as a collective, that could be something that we discuss and we can do. But I would need to know that, you know, moving forward.
Well, I'll suggest that.
Okay.
Okay.
And if we may, can we connect on that a little bit?
Yep.
Because there's some procedures that we have to follow and make sure that we're consistent with our authority here versus the full county board.
Yes, I will work with Susan.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So conservation update then. Is
Okay.
that kind of,
Let me just write letter. Okay. Conservation update. I have a few things. I don't have anything to share here. But we had our conference, which is why we were all gone last month, March. It's crazy that it's April already. Conference went really well. Even with the snowstorm that came through the first day, everybody made it and all is good. And we did take away a lot of different aspects, a lot of different, it wasn't a lot of just technical things. I went to a session on, you know, the roles of actual county government and the rules and regulations, and that was really interesting on how, you know, the dynamics work and everything. So I found there was just a lot of different topics, and all the staff were really pleased and excited that we can go again next year. So that one, so next year is going to be in the Dells. Actually, it'll be there for the next 3 years. And the conference is open to committee members. So if you're ever thinking about it, let me know, and we can even look at, you know, if there's something in the budget for that too. So there were other committee members from other counties there, and they did take away a lot from this last conference, because they have been trying to increase the non-technical sessions within the conference, so a lot of different mixes. So just a plug there for the conference. And then at the conference, we did have one Trempealeau County youth that was in the speaking contest. She did not place at the state, but she did very well, and it was awesome to listen to. It was a very tough competition across all boards, and so it was great to see. There was a really good turnout as far as all the youth in the state, so which was awesome. On the topic of youth education, the land judging contest is coming up, so that'll be the first full week of May. I believe it's like May 8th or 9th, so don't quote me on the date. I think we're still finalizing and getting that, squared away, so right around our committee time. So that'll be exciting, and it'll be hosted somewhere in the Blair area this year. Then Tree and Shrub is also coming up, so a very full week there. I'm looking at probably the last week of April, or the very first day or two of May, so kind of in those areas. Depends on weather, of course, and now we keep getting all these snowstorms, so it's been a little interesting trying to factor out, all the different trees coming in.
I have a question about
Yeah.
that. I had somebody ask, and they said they couldn't see the ending date for the orders anywhere, and they wondered if it, or is it until the orders?
Usually I go until we're sold out. We only have a very, very
Yeah, I
minimal
saw
things
just
left.
Blueberries.
Yeah, I think it's blueberries and maybe a couple American plum trees, but I think that's about it for now, unless someone cancels their order. So if they're looking for something else, they'll have to either search around or, wait till next year. So, yeah. The April 15th deadline is coming up, so that is tax day also. So that's going to be for nutrient management plans getting into our office. Grants getting submitted to DATCAP, so we will be submitting all of those as well. I'll probably submit those today, actually, so that'll be squared away. So it'll be a busy couple weeks, and we're gonna be bidding out projects and getting that rolling. So we're full steam ahead here on conservation side, so.
Any other questions for Haley? Well, thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you
and your
guys.
team. Next, we have discussion regarding reappointment of our town's representative and livestock rep to the ELU committee. Discussion, possible action. I believe we're waiting on the town's position. Yep, so we'll do it at the May. Yeah. And then livestock, I don't know that we're doing anything different. Mark?
I haven't reached out to anybody, I guess, if Randy's willing to continue on, that's his decision. And then the towns will have to decide who they want as their rep, I guess.
Yep.
And we would just go with, for the town thing, we'd go with what the Towns Association recommends, I'm sure. That's what I would recommend anyways. So.
Yeah, no, I think that would be the plan from the committee. So I think we will move that to May. And hopefully then be able to move forward with both.
Not that I think we need a change or anything, but is that a position that we need to publicize or not? A request for
That's a
interested
good
parties?
question.
I don't think we have an established procedure on that. And that would also fall within Becky's jurisdiction a little bit as well. We would have to look at that, whether we'd want to do that. We certainly have we've noticed the public here, and
There's
they.
two meetings though, for sure.
Exactly, and they could, come and say, hey, I want to do it and whatnot. So if the board wanted to proceed with that in the future, we can look at that more.
I don't want to, I was just worried.
Well, I don't think, it's not open to the public, you just have to be a town board member or whatever for that part.
Yeah, that part.
You have to
but
be compliant with
livestock-
the-
Livestock part, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yep.
Having, as long as Randy's willing to keep doing it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues, but. Okay, we'll move that to May. Future agenda items, anything,
Well, Mark sent out an interesting email there on
Oh, yeah.
some
Yeah.
extra solar. It was a hot topic at the Town Association meeting in Altoona, or the district meeting, because like one township said they redid their comprehensive plan and now a transmission line's going through where they were proposed housing development. And then some of these electric battery storage units are getting to be large, like 40 acres.
Holy mackerel, yeah, that's,
in Marathon County, and it's how do you, fire mitigation, everything. Now, from what, I talked to the fire chief last night on some things, and he said now even salvage yards are putting in concrete bunkers to put these battery cars in so they don't start a fire in the whole yard. Or it's a big issue that we should be addressing, I think, because it's an environmental hazard, a safety hazard, health hazard, multiple things.
yeah,
We're
I
not
think you're
prepared
right,
for
that
it.
we should, but I guess, can we, I guess, you know, as far as the state goes, you know, I know we can make our wishes known, but it's just a matter of what we can and can't do, I guess.
So I started looking at that. I didn't finish looking at that. To me, that looks like it's a type 2 action that is still subject to PSC regulation and authority, which has been the challenge.
Well, like Stacy was at that meeting in Osseo, where that gentleman from Marathon County in the small township, he said, we're 7 miles away from a city and it takes 2 million
Oh, yeah.
gallons of water to try to cool the battery. I said, well, then it's a safety issue, and,
Oh,
because
yeah,
they'll hold
you're
charge
not-
forever.
And not, water might not do what it
Water
needs to
won't do it.
do as
Correct.
well,
And
or
then
what you want it to
If
do.
you're pumping that much water, it could run into a stream, so you're contaminating this. You'd have to do site contamination or
You know, kind of
containment and everything.
Kind of going back to where I was essentially going with Haley's, that maybe we need a resolution. And this is something that I think is not going to be fixed so much on a local level versus a state. This is my personal
Right, we had to,
opinion.
yeah, we
On a
addressed it to our
statewide-
elected officials that this is a concern of us local to start a green line movement or whatever.
Yes.
to the state level.
And so, you know, it might be something to discuss it, you know, further, but I think that would be more of a resolution. You know, here's what we would like to see changed in state law.
I mean, yeah, we should get ahead of the game instead of be reactive, be proactive and
There
try to
you-
push.
there
I've
you
told you
go.
guys, Trempealeau County was always the rebel in the past.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were, and we gotta dig our feet in, I think, because, yeah, if this is getting to be more of the trend, I mean, yeah, they're gonna be in rural areas.
Talked to somebody that went down to Iowa, and they drove through like Grant County, right through the middle of all them solar panels.
Yep.
So it was unbelievable how big that was.
And that's proposed in every entrance in our county. Who's gonna get tourism? I mean, you're gonna see glass at our entrance
Right.
if that would
I mean,
go
I think
through.
they're-
That'll limit it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see them all over the place here, but
No,
I
I
think they're
mean-
unsightlier than a hole in the ground with some of the other stuff we've dealt with.
Correct. But I mean, you know, whether that's even for, I don't know, wrecker crews, or where do we store, or do we make, I suppose they're in cities and villages, most of that for containing electric cars now. We don't have much in the county. I think there might be one in Oliva, whether Krybeck still does it or not, I don't know, but, I mean, I don't know if we gotta figure out places so that it don't become an issue.
So I think that'd be a pretty good future agenda item, so.
I do think
I
so.
think some discussion, Verge is laughing.
I was just
This
gonna
is
make a
scary.
comment. On my vacation, we stopped at an Amish store in Iowa, and they had electric car plug-ins.
As long as it's not their car, they're fine.
You've been to one of their houses lately and seen all the.
Yeah,
They do some good stuff.
a lot of Milwaukee out there.
Electrical stuff's okay, but motorized stuff is.
Was it cheaper than $4 an hour or whatever fee, or what?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, you know, going to future agenda items with this, to me, as I said, I think it's more of the law needs to be changed, it needs to be clarified, in my, again, my personal opinion. How would we like to narrow or clarify this discussion? Is there a resolution that you guys already have started? I know that sometimes I've seen resolutions, counties have sent similar policy-related resolutions to Madison. Is there something out there? I want to just ask that question before we put it on, and then we don't have it on for, I want some more formality or structure.
And that's
Could
a
be an
good
item
one
that
to
we
it.
could bring to town association, see what other townships in the county feel, or how they would want to move forward on this maybe, or work collaboratively
Okay.
to generate something and see what to bring here.
And
Because
then
I guess we
ideally
gotta-
pass on the county board to send.
County board to send to the state
Resolution.
or whatever
Okay.
we
I
wish to
think we
do.
agree on the pathway.
Yeah.
As far as who generates the language to start with, that's up for.
Right,
Right,
because
and
I know
is
it's a
there something
conflict
else out
interest
there,
between
or-
towns and county on who does lower it, but I mean, basically, we're all under county government or whatever for comp plans and everything else. We can work together, I would
Okay.
think that way.
Would you be willing to share this issue with the towns, and then
Yes,
we
I
can?
will.
Okay, thank you.
We'll Go ahead.
Oh, I'll add quick, because the WCA, the Agriculture Environment Land Use Committee, or Steering Committee, I know we had a resolution that was, but it was kind of vague, but that might be, there might be some wording in there.
Starting point.
I'll look into that, yeah. And I apologize, they had the meeting, the most recent meeting last week, and I missed it, I was on vacation, but,
What online?
oh, it was in, where did they have it? Those are always in person.
Oh,
Yep, yep. But I'll take a look at what, because I still have all the info from that.
Okay. Very good. I think that would be important for us to start working on a little more again. Anything else from the committee for future agenda items? Do we have any,
We haven't gotten any applications for like conditional use or,
okay.
to my knowledge, no rezone or nothing like that.
Is there anything in our ordinances that we need to be reviewing and looking at? I know here's how I perceive it to go, where we get into something, like, yeah, we really should update that, and then we never go back to it, so kind of wondering if
Well,
there's something.
I was just talking to someone before the meeting here that someone wants to come in and open up another rod and gun type scenario, and I don't know if we have anything in our ordinance that addresses that. But we do have the ability, from my understanding in the ordinance, is that if we do a conditional use for something that isn't really in there, it will be added in there because of that. And I'd have to really get the specifics down with that, but I've never seen anything in the particular uses about rod and guns, but maybe in one of the zoning district definitions it mentions it. But then you would just be rezoning it to that, you know. There's no, so that's a new one, Haven't heard that one, not too many new rod and gun clubs but apparently,
Private ownership?
yes, yeah. Because, all the ones we have are grandfathered in, so to speak, they've been around forever, and nothing's ever changed on them, and we'll have to see where that takes us, I guess. We can maybe, there's always a few things we could tweak in the ordinance, but I guess, we got an individual right now arguing the point of one of the requirements for CSM, and I don't think we need to be changing the ordinance every time someone doesn't like what it says, because we did that twice in the last year, and it didn't do anything, because then people didn't do anything with what we changed them for, so that's kind of my thought on that, I guess, but.
Nope, that's,
How about like the cabin, we revamped it for cabins and I guess hunting shacks being left on site for more than 3 months
Yeah,
or whatever?
yeah.
Any response from that, or was it good?
Not
bad, or-
really. I mean, the camper thing, we've permitted a couple, as permanent. They got permitted and, approved, they met the setbacks and all that. And then the camping cabin one was for an individual. And now they moved on to a yurt instead of a camping cabin. And I guess regardless, it's in the ordinance under the campground now as an acceptable version of camping. And it would be inspected like a structure, UDC inspection, based on the state code for camping units, and our GEC will take that on as one of their inspections. And, but no, that's like that, they were talking about doing all these little, that kind of fell by the wayside, and they went to these yurts on like a little deck setting or something, but, and I don't think it's bad to change a few things here and there, but I guess just because every individual up to this point has been made to toe the line and do it a certain way, and then also we change things. And then in the cases in the last year, they just didn't do it anyways, It's like that transfer density thing, that never panned out, but it's in there now. And then the railroad thing, that never panned out either, but it's in there now,
yeah,
So,
okay. All right, so.
Kellen,
Go
just
ahead.
on that idea of that, for the rod and gun, it's just a private owner that would like to buy land. Before he buys the land and does what he needs to do, he wanted to know what the process was to get that in Trempealeau County. Just so you're aware, since he mentioned it.
Okay. We will put those things on agenda.
So do we need to be discussing setbacks or things like that for?
oh yeah, that opens up a whole nother, especially if it's a shooting range type scenario, there's gonna be noise, depends on proximity to, have to really do some looking into it, because the old ones aren't gonna be a very good reference, because there was nothing tied to them, and maybe I'll look up the one in, I will look up the one in La Crosse County to see what their zoning, how they handle it, I guess. Because the one, I don't know if it's the same owner, but if you're going to La Crosse or on Alaska, right there on the left, if you're going there is a shooting range. You can see it plain as day. And if it's something like that, yeah, I mean, like the rod and guns we have, you know, there's some shooting going on at the Ettrick one. They got like a skeet thing, or the Whitehall one, they did it in the past, but they don't shoot no more there. It's more just the lake and some land. And then I'm sure they do some shooting at the Osseo one too, you know, but it's gonna be something that are gonna have to rely on other counties of what they've done, because ours aren't a very good reference, because there's nothing on paper, you know.
Well, it depends on his business plan, if he's gonna have like trap leagues or how much activity
And I
he'll
guess
have
if it's
there.
in an area where there's nobody around, you know, just like the hearing we had earlier, you know, you really got to concentrate how it affects the neighbors. Rather upset the one person that's applying than 10 more people when you pass something, you know. And it's got to really be looked at pretty closely, I think. So.
Okay, we'll add that for future. Next meeting date, scheduled for Wednesday, May 7th. That good with everyone yet?
Haley, is it close to the conservation contest, May 7th? Thursday that week? Is that the same?
We're gonna try to do it on like a Tuesday or a Thursday, or maybe a Friday. I said not on Wednesday, because then that'll limit the amount of like volunteers that can do the land judging. Yep. Yep, nope, we'll make sure that it's not on committee day.
Okay. Well, and with that then, so we will see everybody next May 7th, and I will adjourn the meeting at 9:57. Thank you, everyone.